It's the week of August the 22nd. Today is actually the 23rd right now. Wanted to give a quick update on crypto and also some various stocks, some of the exciting trades that we had earlier this past week. Starting with Ethereum here on the 4-hour chart, you'll see that our trend on the trend exhaustion is pushed way up in here. Typically that's a sign in the past. If we just go look, we should be expecting a drop if history were to repeat itself. Now, we like to actually have stuff come up to a resistance, so my hope would be that we actually come up to this weekly resistance at 1695, end up creating some sort of like some bearish divergence here, and end up essentially coming down and probably retesting here this level on this daily again at 1569. Of course, if we lose that, we're looking at this $1,430 level, more than likely. And you can see this has sort of been acting as support for Ethereum in the past here. Now, if we are to look at a couple things here, I want to pull up our Market Cipher VWAP and get this on our chart here. So you can see that the VWAP has been actually acting as support right here and bounced off that and so forth and so on. So we'll be watching the VWAP here to see if we do in fact keep that or if we lose that and then it starts acting as resistance. All right, so moving along here, we are looking now at the 1-hour chart. You can see that money is actually leaving the asset still. Doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to get it, but ideally, like on the 1-hour chart, what we'll be hoping to see is a lower momentum here with a little bit of a sell signal, but then a higher price. So we'd actually have, higher price, lower momentum, and less money flow, which of course would be a perfect bearish divergence for a short right here at this $1,700 area, which is again a weekly resistance. So we could be looking at something like if we pump up a 7% drop at least back to this area. Of course, if you're using leverage, just multiply that 7% number by the amount of leverage you're using, and that would equal your percentage of gain against your position size. So if you had $1,000 10x leverage, you have $10,000 position, and if your price moves 7%, you're looking at 7% of 10,000, which is $700, which would be a huge percentage gain compared to your actual position. Okay, that's the Ethereum side. The Bitcoin side doesn't look, it's very flat right now. We still do have some room to push up here. Of course, our whale money flow is pushed up. We did get rejected earlier from a daily level here at 21,630. We can also look for some of these other things from another group we're involved in. Really not a lot here, possibly and short at around 21.8. Swing failure pattern up at 22,000. And so what we want to do, just as a reminder to everybody, what we need to do for every asset is we simply just need to right click and add an alert, and then you can basically start customizing those alerts. I'm recording my screen right now, so there's some interference with this, but you can see we already have these alerts as an example here. They'll pop up something like this. You can customize the alert name. You can tell it how often you want it to pop up. Of course, only once. And then we can have it send us an email and also a text message. Notify us on the app if you put it on your phone. And I believe, yes, you send SMS as well. So it makes a very annoying sound, but gives you an opportunity to come back to your screen. And so what we want to do on that level is, again, we're going to simply look under lower time frames once we get close to one of these levels. And ideally what we're going to want to see, you can see a recent one here, is you can see how money flow was flowing down on like a 12-minute time frame, and that price had pushed up into this level. We also had a bearish divergence here You can see that we had less momentum and less money flow. Our trend was also exhausted on the 12-minute. And so this actually earlier, few hours ago, was a decent little scalp trade, about a 1% move. Of course, it's pushed back up now. And so, you know, it's not a bad deal. But again, we want to set our alert, come down to these resistance areas and see what's happening on our chart. You know, is money coming in? Is money coming out of the asset? That's why we actually like using this much better than some of the other ones out there. Okay, so that's Bitcoin and Ethereum. We can look at ADA as another example here. And what we're going to do is we're going to zoom out here on a larger time frame. And we want to look and see what's going on. And again, really not a lot. Everything's pretty flat right now as far as cryptos go. Again, we can look at a number of other cryptos. If you have any requests, we're happy to do that. But I want to go and talk about stocks, because this is where, you know, crypto was hot, but to me, stocks are even hotter. Some of the previous moves that we were able to capture is, you know, in the case of Ford, we had a golden pocket down in this area, but we snuck past it. And we actually back here created a bullish divergence here back in July, where we found this weekly level of support. And this actually lined up for even a more beautiful big anchor wave, smaller wave momentum moving up, and then a trigger wave literally right at the zero line. These are explosive moves when you see these large anchor waves, especially these doubles. We had bullish divergence. You can see we had lower price right at the weekly, but we had higher momentum. And same thing with our trend. You can see also the money flow, things of that nature. And so what transpired is, you know, this large move of, let me go backwards here. Let me just start this one over. Okay, here we go. But what transpired here is this massive move. So we came from about 10, 11 bucks all the way up into $16+, which we were actually at another daily level. So we had a weekly level on 16. We had a daily level at 1660. And we also had a 382 fib here. This one was being pulled from this low. Let me see here. Yeah, from this high down to this low right here. So you can see that here, from the high down to the low. And we ended up getting, you know, this move right up to this level here that allowed us to actually predict, you know, this sort of rejection here. Sorry, I moved it here, and because I'm recording my screen, it's not giving me access to all of my stuff. Just a little bit annoying here. So again, if we were to just look at, and I'll just redraw this just to make things simple. We want to look for some of these resistance levels of what, you know, where we could possibly be looking to short. So here you can see it right here. Makes it a little bit easier. So we had a 382 from this high to this low, 382. We had a daily level, and a few other things I want to show you. Our trend was exhausted on the daily. We had bearish divergence. So you can see that we actually had higher price movement. So again, we have higher price, right? Lower momentum, okay? So this was a clear shorting opportunity this last week. And this move from this daily area, you know, we're down 4.5+% essentially right now. What I'm hoping to see next on Ford is some major bearish divergence, and it would look something like this. You know, we're about to probably get a buy on this. We're finding support at this other 50% Fibonacci. This is an overall 50% Fibonacci from the COVID low to the high. Let me just show you this so you can see this. So what we're looking at doing is, here is the low. Where do we go? Okay, so we take the low to the high. We're now finding support basically at this 50% level. Of course, we shortly shot through the golden pocket, found support at this weekly before we came back up here. So what I'm sort of hoping happens here on Ford, because it's already moved up 60% from the low, back only a couple months, less than 2 months. So pretty significant move. Is our trend was exhausted up here. Great short opportunity. We bottomed, which was right up this 50% Fibonacci, and we've already rebounded a couple points. But I'm hoping what happens is we end up doing something like this, where price would come up into this level, back up to one of these levels, whether it's this $16 weekly or $16.50 daily, and then end up with some sort of other smaller momentum wave, with the sell signal, so that we end up, creating even lower momentum, but yet, higher price action or similar price action. That would be ideal, because I think at that point you can see that money clearly is leaving the asset on the 4-hour, and we could potentially aim for a massive move down on the Ford stock. Of course, like a lot of car companies, actually, if you read, they've had record profits even though they're selling less cars. With the recent announcement of the tax credit, if you buy an electric vehicle, Ford actually, it was like a $7,500 tax credit. Ford actually then, after that was announced, raised all their electric vehicle prices by, I believe it was $8,500. So pretty crappy on their part, but understandably, as they're a for-profit business. So something to keep an eye on. We want to hopefully see something like that. Of course, on the SPY, S&P 500, again, our trend was exhausted. We were at a golden pocket. We were at the 200-day simple moving average, and we were at a daily level. And so this was a great opportunity for a short on the SPY. 4.5% move down. Great options trade. Pretty much everything was a short at key levels. It was pretty interesting. Again, trend was exhausted. Money flow peaked. We had some bearish divergence here on Apple. We were at a weekly level at 175. Again, rejected. So this is why we want to have a number of these things in play on our charts at all times. Tesla here, sort of the same story. We had trend was exhausted. We had bearish divergence. We had money flow, a little bit similar here, but on here we knew because of trend exhaustion and because we had lower momentum. Again, we were at a daily level. We almost pushed up into this golden pocket, and then we had this sort of rejection here at this level, 7% right now, currently down 4.5. And so we did get a buy signal, a little bit of a bump, but we'll have to keep our eye on this, because on the hourly on Tesla, it looks like it's rolling over. VWAP's turning down, trend is exhausted, and it looks like Tesla's going to have some more downside. That being said, where would we potentially get a bounce? And that's what we really need to think about and look at. And we can look at this in a number of different ways. One thing that has not been hit as of yet, need to probably move this a little bit, but one thing that has not hit of yet that I'm hoping for is this golden pocket. That I know there's a split going on and everything, but this area has not been hit on this yet, which would be an amazing move if we could get down here, 45+%. Now, it's probably not necessarily going to happen, but we've already come down to the 50% level, and did get a bounce from this area. So something to keep in mind. If you have any requests for any cryptos or any stocks, we can go into more detail. We can provide those live charts of where we might be looking for resistance to short and support to go long.